बंदों गुरुपत कंज कृपा सिंधु नर रूप हरि महामोह तम पुंज जासु वचन रवि करिनिकर. Dignitaries on the dais and in front of me. It feels like I'm a toddler in front of many accomplished and masters who have arrived to the great depth and height of sadhana. Really humbling experience. Many like professors and teachers like are there, but it's a fantastic moment. When I started my PhD in 2004, it looks like about 20 years ago, and started working on the Karma Yoga. After working on some of the so-called cutting-edge topic on Six Sigma and HR and all that, a lot of well-meaning people would advise me that why you got into that that path, because I was doing my PhD in MDI Gurgaon, and right behind the institute there is a office of Hewitt, and if you have done some work on HR Six Sigma or PCMM, it's quite likely you could just cross the road and you get the office there. But then one thing which kind of drove me to the field of consciousness, spirituality, karma yoga, and then yoga and mindfulness was that if not me, who else will do that? Not, of course, there might be hundreds of people like me, and hundreds of people are required. But it is my responsibility, because if I am part of this culture, if I am blessed with such the blessings of some gurus from my childhood, and then my guide was also very, very open and kind of evolved person, and he supported and things happened. Yesterday, Guru Murthy ji was saying that truth might be the same, but in each era, the language of truth may be different. So, the language can be mythical, language can be religious, language can be mystical. The language of this era seems to be empirical. You need to have numbers to support your argument. That is more common in the field of management. So, what became kind of a confluence of the inner calling and what is required in the current times was presenting the ideas of spirituality at workplace with the support of numbers. So, bringing the ancient wisdom into the scientific discourse of management, that became kind of a motto of mine, and then it became the motto for our team, and a lot of wonderful teachers who have guided me, and a lot of bright students who have worked with me as PhD scholars or others who have worked on the range of such topics. But the focus remains that can we present these ideas, number one, with the support of numbers empirically, and number two, how that works in the organizations in society. So the first study was on converting idea of Karma Yoga into the organizational climate. Because if organization have to be the instrument for the transformation, and if you look at in this room, we cannot find any stuff, any good which is not created by organization. So if consciousness has to be transformed, if this planet is to be saved, or if we have to achieve sustainable development, it can happen only if we can transform the organization. And for that, we need to know where the organizations exist. And for that, we need to identify what are the levels of organizational consciousness. Like there can be levels of individual consciousness. So, like individuals, organizations can also exist at the level of consciousness. And the first we proposed was market consciousness. I am involved in this business. I need to do it profitably and legally. The second level of organizational consciousness is social consciousness, where I am also aware of not only my profit and my business, but also interested and concerned about different stakeholders. And third level of organizational consciousness is spiritual consciousness, where creativity, ethics of care, the moral reasoning level is more on care, love, beauty, and being responsible. And my choice of action is arising from my sense of responsibility, not only to my immediate employees and the customers, but to the system which I am part of. How to quantify that? So we quantify in the form of a spiritual climate, and we looked at its impact on customers' experience, learning, knowledge management, team building, etc., etc. I would like to, since there are a lot of students are present here, how these ideas can be converted, can be used, can be implemented at the institutional level. I am so happy to share example, and that has happened because some of the wonderful colleagues I have at IIT Bombay and some fantastic students. We have a Yogast club. When the International Yoga Day was announced, we established a Yogast club in IIT Bombay. And as it happens, until internationally it is recognized, we do not value our traditional wisdom. So thanks to the UNO, which recognized the yoga, so it became politically, technically correct to we talk about in our institutions. It happened, and you can sense I am saying this with the tongue in cheek. It happened, and we were allowed to start this Yogastha club. We have about 3,500 students, undergraduate level, about 11 to 12,000 students at the PG and PhD level. At any given point of time, Yogastha Club has membership of about 2,000 members. And regularly there are activities going on about yoga therapy, about meditation, regular practices. This is happening in IIT, and thanks to all this activity, whenever new sport facility was constructed, there's a complete one floor, 2 halls are given for the yoga activities, yoga practices. So United Consciousness is doing fantastic work, and if there is a plan to spread its work on the campuses, Yogastha Club can be a good example, can be a good model, where in a very practical way, in a very useful way, this can be introduced on the campuses, and young students can take it up, because all the Yogastha Club activities are carried out by our students. So this is one kind of a application. In 2011, I was asked to look at the course curriculum of the MBA program, and we were able to introduce a new course relating with self-awareness and relating with world. And thanks to the support of my head of the department, and we were able to convince to the PGP, and it was approved by the Senate. It became a core course, and that gave us enough opportunity to include yoga and mindfulness in our regular credited course MBA first year IIT Bombay. That was not the time when International Yoga Day was announced, but then the course was approved. So first reaction was that, okay, probably students will not accept it, and the feedback will not be good, and then we will see, okay, then the reviews will happen. The feedback was good, students found it useful, but then we were asked, okay, feedback is fine, but where is the number? So again, we are living in the empirical era where the language of science is more in numbers and quantification. We carried out experiment and kind of a randomized control trial. It was very close to a randomized control trial, because we have 2 sections, and 2 sections students are assigned randomly. So it meets the requirement of the randomization. And in a half semester course, which is about 7-8 weeks, we carried out in one course, in the one section, some reflection activities, and some other section, yoga was introduced. Within 7 weeks, we also were surprised to see the result. The first experiment was really kind of surprising. because the moral reasoning scores and the moral reasoning assessment happens in a very thorough way, like 2 case studies, 7 cases, 7 questions, qualitative response is converted into quantitative, and all that. It's a big protocol, 9-step process. There was a very significant improvement on the moral reasoning scores on the Kohlberg cycle, on the Kohlberg stages in the experiment group. So that kind of gave the oxygen for course to keep on running for next 3 years. In next 3 years, we could carry out 3 more experiments. And in the 3 experiments, we found that just 7 weeks of practice, 2 days in the classroom, 1 day in and few days in the hostel, if they are able to do, because that is dependent on students' willingness, we could see the impact of this on the psychological capital. It was all taken, the assessment were all taken in the peer review form. Means I am feeling good and I am reporting that is not the best design. So you need to check with the people around you. So we looked at the peer review process. We looked at it, looked this through the peer review and all that, and then it kind of it showed up, and it became kind of a very well established when we compare the grade. Unfortunately, in the preceding semester, consistently the group which was performing this practice and the section which was chosen for this, chosen means which was picked up for this intervention, their grade out of 10 were more in the range of 0.5 to 0.7. So in the out of 10, if the 0.5 to 0.7 grades are more, it became a very big concern, because grades are directly connected to the placement, because many of the organizations, they have to shortlist candidates. So that the grade become the obvious first kind of line for the shortlisting. So that became a kind of authority, and the sanctioned happened psychologically as well, along with the administratively and physically. And when this was going on, IIM Ahmedabad also, in some colleagues started talking about it, and there was a conversation, but that is there any empirical evidence about what is being what the course being offered? And thankfully that time the empirical evidence was available. This was all published in fairly established journals, FT50 and all that. So it was very easy to introduce this course in IIM Ahmedabad. And when it was first time introduced in IIM Ahmedabad with the name of Leadership and Mindfulness, the total seats sanctioned were 45, 90 people registered for that. And it was kind of a double subscribed. So much so that we offered another course. So I'm teaching with Dr. Rajesh Chandwani there, another course on organizational and the human potential with yoga. So there is a yoga and positive psychology, both are in the title of the course. So this was kind of a experience. I would like to talk about how it is relevant at the societal level. We have 5 minutes. So how all this matters at the societal level. So we can't just start and ask people to take yoga and hope that something great can happen until we have some substantial grounds of thinking. So thanks to the ICSSR, we did some all India level survey to look at what is the wellness state of Indian youth. And on the scale of wellness, we can be at the languishing, moderately flourishing, or flourishing state. Flourishing means you have positive emotion, positive relations, sense of achievement, connectedness. That is the flourishing, and lack of that is languishing and somewhere in between. So we collected data from students from Mysore to Guwahati to Jammu to Lucknow. That means it was pan-India. And about 1/3 of the Indian youth we found is flourishing, but about 15% are languishing, and about about 15% are languishing, and about 50% are moderately flourishing. A substantial part of the moderately flourishing youth has a risk of slipping into languishing. And what Dr. Tomar was mentioning, the suicide rate in India, the youth suicide rate in India is not the general, but the youth suicide rate in India is actually highest, and that is the severest aspect of the languishing. So we had some substantial data, but then in IIT there was a conversation, no, we need to reduce the academic burden, and then there are some conversation, okay, we need to make the education more easier, and then some people say, no, it is related to the economic background, it is related to the academic burden, it is related to value system. All these are things we connect with the wellness. We included all these assessments in this survey. And to get the response on this, it was difficult to get it in the. So we conducted kind of 7-8 workshops, collected data about more than 1,000, and what we found was that neither your background of social rural-urban, neither your socio-economic status, nor your academic burden or academic engagement matters in making you to flourish. What makes you flourish is not even values. Any value, you can have value of ambition, you can have value of happiness, you can value of wisdom. No particular value is connected to flourishing except one. And what is that? That is self-direction. Uddaret atmanatmanam atmanam avasadhet atmay vatmo bandhu atma vairipur atmana. When the agency is strong, when I know what I value and I am able to work on that, that was the topmost finding, that self-direction is the course of, is the pathway of flourishing. Role of family is to prevent you to get into languishing, but it is not the guarantee of flourishing. So I am really glad that Bhagavad Gita is being made available in the form which can be helpful to the students, because that strengthens your agency, that gives the self-direction. So it is, the conclusion is that, and the second thing is social connectedness. Students who have connection other than beyond their family, they are actively engaged in the social projects, they were found to be flourishing. So flourishing and and the self-direction, they were the guarantee of flourishing. And this is in the Bhagavad Gita we call Lokasangra and Swadharma. Hope we all find our Swadharma and we engage in the Lokasangra. That is teaching of Bhagavad Gita, and that is the finding in our 4-5 years of research project as well. So thanks very much.